Welcome to Playing with Fire, the podcast for people who are ready to custom build their love.
We're talking about non-monogamy, however you design it, as an individuation opportunity.
Want to leave the default and make your life spectacularly you? You're in the right place. Who here is stressed out by their relationship? Raise your hand. Ken, let's talk about relationship stress, specifically around the fact that we're growing, we're changing.
Well, that
trying to get
seems
better.
appropriate. Yeah. That
I've
is
been
a thing
feeling
we
some.
do as humans as we grow.
Well, ideally, we're growing, and I think that the idea of being equipped to handle the stress of relationship growth is important, and we've talked about it a lot in respect to how do I work with my nervous system.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
I'd like to get into it a little bit more about how individuation oriented relationships can specifically work with this concept.
Okay. Yeah.
And how we might take some of the stuff that neurobiology teaches us about, what human brains do and what to do to handle the fact that relationship growth is uncomfortably stressful at times.
Right. And I mean, yeah. So you and I have spent some time learning about neurosomatic intelligence, learning how the brain responds to things and how we as individual people can work with that change. We're not just a victim of it. It's us, and we can do things to adjust ourselves. And so stress comes up, and there's distress. Like, oh, I'm in distress now. This is awful. This is like, oh, this water is so cold. I don't like it. This is not okay for me. I'm in distress. Unless I beforehand was hot, really, really hot.
Right. So
like I'm overheated.
Reframe it.
And I'm going to get in this cold water. Oh, okay. This is a different experience. And it's still stress because that change is still happening, still experiencing it. But all of a sudden I've got eustress, EU stress.
EUSTRESS.
Yep. All of a sudden, it's something that I interpret as beneficial, as on purpose.
It's adaptive.
Adaptive. There's the word. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about this all the time when we were running a gym. We would talk about how there's an amount of stress that you want to put the body under in order to create adaptive change.
Yeah.
The kind of change we're seeking. And you don't want to go over that threshold because then you can actually flip that into, now the body's going into shutdown or exactly. Or it's actively breaking things down in a non-helpful
stop
way.
What's happening. And now you're stuck. It's like, well, I was going to do that. My body and my brain are saying no. So,
well, you just brought up a really interesting point. So if you're going through relational growth, and that might be happening in a lot of different ways in your life right now. You might be going through the growth of experiencing having new partners for the first time. You might be going through a breakup. You might be going through the relational growth of practicing differentiation or through renegotiating your relationships. Or
having just had a baby.
Yep. Or you might be having your first negotiated relationship where you actively ask for what you want and negotiate and create real agreements with the other instead of just sort of going along and accidentally sliding sideways into the rest of your life with someone. All of these things can be interpreted as stressful, and how we handle those has a lot to do with what the outcome will be. And one of the ways we can make all of that feel more stressful is by resisting the idea that this should be easy. Like the resistance itself to the idea that relationships take some effort. That causes trouble. And especially I find this comes up even more with people who've been in they have a long-term relationship that they feel like has been really successful. And now they're trying to make what seems like, well, this is just one change. Why is this stressful? It feels like we should just be able to do this. But the resistance to the fact that there is new effort that needs to be expended often creates a sense of more stress than is objectively there. And I think that this is one of the ways that people accidentally stop themselves from being able to have an individuation oriented relationship.
Yeah. Right. The
A
idea
relationship where
that,
they are really focused on growth and transformation of their individual psyches, and being there to support that for each other. And it's,
yeah,
which is
it's
so luscious and amazing. And you can do that with more than one partner, by the way. You can have multiple individuation oriented relationships. Sure. But if you're going to experience intentional change, your animal body is going to experience some level of stress, and how you respond to that stress, how you make meaning out of it, will have a lot to do with then how it impacts you, and how, with the long-term ramifications, whether they're positive or net negative.
And there are so there are experiences we can have with our bodies that stress our bodies.
Yeah.
And may or may not stress our brains.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of goes back to the distress, eustress things, but also just not experiencing it as stress. There are plenty of people who will do things that I don't want to do with their bodies because it doesn't cause them stress. They go do these things. They'll run for like
Ultra marathoners.
ultra marathons,
yeah.
and I mean
they do amazing things.
But they're, and this is what I wanted to say about it is it's what they expect it to be. So it's not stressful.
Right.
This is one, I mean, there are many ways that stress can happen, but one of them is, and one of our kids put this so simply when they were very, very, very young. There was something happening and they didn't like it. And what they said was they were three
in their little diaper, and they came down the stairs because they didn't get the right parent to put them to bed. Yep. They got a different parent.
They got the wrong parent. So, not the end of the world kind of stuff. But they said, this is not what I was expecting. And this was a problem.
It was a problem
for their brain. Their brain was like, I had a plan and this isn't it.
Yep.
And there was stress there. And growth. We don't know what's going to happen. So it can't be what we're expecting.
Right.
So there's stress. And is that good or bad?
Right. Yeah. There's the question, because sometimes people join the year of opening and they pop into the program from the position of, you know what? Everything's great. We have a great relationship. We have a great life. We like each other. We do want to open, but mostly we just want to find out what happens if we let go of the idea that monogamy has to run everything. What if we're open to what might be? They're not even specifically seeking something like some specific kind of opening. They're just like, yeah, we want to be open to what might be. And those people tend to not experience it as intensely stressful, distressful, because they're present to the fact that they don't know. Which doesn't mean that stuff doesn't come up along the way. Like, oh, didn't even know that was possible, because getting comfortable with the unknown and the unknowable is, well, we try to get comfortable with that, but it's still out there. We don't know everything that's coming down the pike.
One of the things that happens with some of those people is they're like, okay, I'm looking at this part of my relationship and it's like, I don't know what's going to happen in there. Like, but I'm okay with it. I mean, we've talked about it, and I don't know, but that's like fine. And then something changes out there, and they're like, wait a minute.
Perfect example.
Now I've got stress. I didn't know this was going to affect how, I don't know, summer vacation was going to go.
Right.
I didn't see that coming at all. And all of a sudden, if you haven't already decided for yourself as an individual what meaning you are going to make out of the change, now you've got to figure it out on the fly.
Yeah. So humans are meaning-making machines. We just are. We are meaning-making machines. And so what happens if you grab onto the basic idea that stress is going to happen? I mean, I think that is a really central tenet, but it is also not the only one. You can also make positive meaning out of the stress. And then there was a researcher, Robert Sapolsky wrote, he's a neurobiologist, and I believe he studies animal behavior by and large. He wrote a book about handling change, dealing with the fact that there's change and therefore stress. And The things that he wrote are at the core of how we can feel differently about it. Just feel so intelligent and straightforward to me. And yet I struggle with them. And I know you struggle with them. And I see my clients struggle with them. The things that he mentions are we can increase our sense of choice, which is not the same thing as increasing the number of choices we have in our life.
Yeah, I think I get that.
Okay, so other research has shown very clearly that if we have a lot of different choices, like the jam study, if you have 24 jams, then it's too many jams and you won't pick any jam. If you have 6 jams, you feel like, yay, I get to have all these choices, and you'll pick a jam to buy and enjoy.
There's a limit to the number of choices that feels like well, good. It just feels pleasurable. Like, oh, I have this.
I have options.
Versus,
Exactly. So the idea that when you're experiencing change and therefore potential stress in your relationship, I apply this by saying, okay, how can I increase my sense of being at choice? And one of the first things I can do there is to acknowledge that I am in self-consent to be a growing, changing person in a relationship where we are intentionally exploring, checking out what else we might have in our relationship. We're being expansive. That can offer me a sense of, oh, I am at choice. I opted into this. And where I see people struggle with this is when they feel or they have a story that they were coerced into the relational change that's going on. Mm-hmm. So in the case of non-monogamy, a lot of times people show up in my world and they're feeling like they were given no choice. So they have a partner who comes to them. We covered this a little bit in the episode about polybombing. Yep. The idea that your partner comes to you and says, I'm polyamorous, so now we have to be polyamorous or you have to get out. It's much more complicated than that. Definitely listen to that episode. But the idea then that you had no choice in the matter, but a lot of people then do decide, okay, I'm in, let's figure this out. And the crucial moment is in the moment when you say, I am in. You got to mean it. You got to mean I'm in for my own reasons. I have done my due diligence. I at least understand what it is that I am opening myself up to. And I am opting into this process of change and growth. And by doing that, you actually provide yourself that sense of choice. I choose to move forward.
You should go look at what we have on the drama triangle, because that's going from victim, like, oh, this is happening to me. I did not choose this, to I'm going to decide to choose this for the reasons that I have, for what I can grow or get or whatever you're looking for out of this experience. I'm in.
Right. So choosing to leave the victim mentality and choosing to embrace the fact that you are the creator of your existence. Right. Because I mean, this gets really tricky, because if your partner shows up and says, I'm polyamorous and I want you to be too, acknowledging that we have choice there, we need to also acknowledge that a lot of us might not feel like we have choice, but you might not feel like you have choice for emotional reasons. Like you're attached to the relationship as it is, you're attached to your life as it is. And the thing is, your life changed when your partner showed up and said that. It did change. And I'm with you. That can suck. It definitely sucks for a lot of people who show up and tell me their stories of how they came to this question of opening. But the people who took the time to allow themselves to grapple with, okay, I did not see this coming, didn't ask for it. But you know what? My partner's an individual and they get to make decisions. And I get to decide whether to explore this with them or not. Somebody who joined the year of opening put it, I think, my absolute favorite way. She said, so my partner shared his authentic truth with me. And parts of me really don't get it. I don't understand it. Parts of me understand that I don't have to understand it. And I could end this. I could say, okay, so we're done. But basically, I think I either can explore this with him and find out, and maybe there's a whole other life on the other side for me. where non-monogamy is a thing that we do. Or maybe he's non-monogamous, maybe I'm monogamous. I don't know. Or I can say, I don't want to find out. I would rather just end it now. And you get to make either of those decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, the way she shared this with me, it's just, I mean, it brought tears to my eyes because what she was choosing was to engage in this process from her perspective of, I'm opting into this. It was not my idea. I did not want this. I'm feeling ambiguous grief about it. And this is me. He's not forcing me. I'm choosing to opt into a process of exploration. And that's why I ask people to explore for a whole year.
The choice she made, the specific choice she made isn't as important as the fact that she took the fact that she had a choice seriously.
Right. Now, I don't think we should leave choice behind without stating the maybe not obvious fact that depending on how power, finances, housing security, job opportunity, depending on how all of the things that impact your ability to live in this particular capitalist life that we live, you may not feel that you have an actual choice. And I can't address that. Like, I can't address it by myself. One of the ways I approach this is to help people imagine into, like, is that true? Do you not have a choice, or do you not like the choices you have?
Yeah.
And if the power dynamics haven't been discussed, can we have those conversations? Can we start addressing the fact that you don't feel like you have any power or safety or security in your life, and that needs to be addressed too. And some of this is systemic oppression that is happening because we live in a society that is not fair and absolutely has really oppressive structures that will hold some people back. But some of it is because we have not negotiated the relationships we're in, and that deserves to be addressed. If there is massive imbalance in our ability to safely procure, housing, food, shelter, food, water, a basic sense of safety, then that needs to be addressed, or the relationship is going to have other problems as well.
Yes.
So that is worth addressing.
And that is your sense of choice is in the context of whatever systemic issues are going on in your relationship, and those are real. I mean, our mothers couldn't get credit cards.
Yeah. That's true.
The whole time.
Yes.
So there was a choice that they couldn't make. They couldn't say, well, I'll just get myself a credit card and I will go and do blah. Nope.
She couldn't do that. Yeah.
Couldn't do that
because
there
of the time period.
Issues.
And right now, that is still true for many, many people.
Right.
And there are many other things that can keep us locked in place. And some of those are based on earlier decisions we've made. Some of them are based on things that have nothing to do with any choices we made. Some of them are also, they're based on choices we made earlier. And yet they're still true right now. And they still lead to inequities and power imbalances in the relationships we have now. And if you're listening to this and you know that there is a power imbalance in your relationship, that needs to be addressed regardless of what else happens. Like that is an accident waiting to happen.
To have at the very least.
Yeah. And so far beyond the scope of any one episode.
Yeah,
okay.
That's for sure.
Okay.
So I want
revealing power differentials. Let's take that up in a future episode, because I want to be able to deep dive into that.
And I wanted to come back to something you said about that sense of choice, and that if you take the time, and there it is, like in a moment when something comes to you, and if you're just like reactants out of wherever you are right in that moment, you may take away from yourself the option of choices. And so if you're looking for ways to increase your access to the sense of choice, maybe give yourself some space before you respond to situations.
Allow
space
to be space to process at the speed you need to process.
Space to process at the speed that you process.
And to also be sure that you are not in a situation where you're being intentionally manipulated.
Yeah.
Because if you are in relationship with someone who has habits of manipulation and coercion, then one of the things that they will do is try to rush your decisions. What if your decisions don't have to be rushed? That's a way you can take back power. So
Okay.
Sapolsky
Yep.
offered some other options for ways to increase our sense of stability and safety, and in other words, like actually feel like this stress is helpful.
Yeah.
One of them is to increase our sense of predictability. And this one's really interesting to me when it comes up in the context of non-monogamy specifically. One of the things we're opening up to is the idea that we don't necessarily know what's going to happen next. New relationship energy may come up, transitions may happen, relationships can get configured differently. And the truth is, all relationships are up for negotiation all the time. We never know how, and we don't know whether tomorrow is promised. Death will come as well. Entropy is real.
This is all true. Yeah. Yeah.
But we can increase our sense of predictability at the same time that we are being exploratory. And I think this is a vastly underrated source of opening skills. When I'm working with people to open a currently monogamous relationship, they're making that transition. One of the things we can put in place are regular relationship check-ins.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? A regular time to check in, and to check in not in a vague sense, with a very clear structure. Here's how we're checking in. Here's our 15-minute check-in. Here's our 30-minute check-in. Here are our deep dive check-ins where we're going deep into an issue that needs to come up and be talked about. That's a pretty simple piece of technology to put into your relationship that can increase a sense of predictability. Another is like building some ritual into your life.
Oh yeah.
Building. Yep. And ritual is essentially routine plus meaning. Routine plus meaning. The meaning you imbue this routine with becomes the ritual. So you and I have a morning ritual at this point that whenever we're here in the morning we do, and when we're away we can also do that. And then when we're not together in the mornings, we can do it some other time of day. It's fine.
And I love, so you just said it's routine plus meaning. And just this morning, you had us redo it because you weren't feeling, you had checked out emotionally. So the meaning wasn't there for you. And it was just the actions. Yep. Like, wait, that doesn't do the job. I mean, when I brush my teeth, I don't necessarily feel that that adds predictability to the world, for example. It doesn't add that kind of meaning.
But it could.
It could if you wanted it to.
It could. Totally. Any action that you want to create ritual around could evoke this sense of stability and predictability. Meals, when my kids were little, the best advice I got, I was really struggling when I added my third baby to the family. I was really struggling because I lost one of my primary sources of support. My mom was very, very, very ill, got a liver transplant. And so I was caretaking for her instead of her being around and helping out at times. And I was really, really stressed. And I met with one of my parenting mentors, and this piece of advice has just held fast throughout all of the different life transitions I've had. She said, try not to get fixated on your schedule right now because you're in a lot of stress. Instead, just anchor yourself to meals. Just anchor. And she chose meals because she knew I had small children at home and I needed something that was going to happen throughout the day that would help me just anchor to having some kind of rhythm where there were starts and finishes.
Anchor in your day.
And so we anchored to a 3-meal schedule with 3 snacks. And for a while I never got fixated on time with that, but that rhythm it totally changed how my days felt and made things feel possible again.
That sounds great.
And when I was going through my divorce, I did the exact same thing. And it was a totally different eating pattern. It was all very I had completely changed my life. I remember anchoring to a 2-meal schedule and a 2 workout schedule because we were opening a gym at the time. It was all wildly different from my earlier life.
But you found your anchor
points.
I
found my anchor points. Mm-hmm. So creating predictability through some anchor points is so profoundly grounding, but also simple. We can do that. And if you like tying to the calendar and the timers, I love calendars and timers, great. But if you don't, simply having the rhythm itself can increase that sense of predictability.
The sequence can hold its own Rhythm.
Another place we can increase predictability is around creating ritual around when we leave spaces and when we come back to spaces. Just a small ritual. I mean, it can be small things, the way that you leave the house, the words that you say, the actions you take, especially as you're coming and going from partners, from children. Yep. Those little moments of transition can create a sense of predictability as well.
Yeah, intentionality adds meaning all by itself.
Yeah,
and can really stabilize the day. And here's the thing: so then things come in that can destabilize the day, because they do. They will. I mean,
yeah. Your day today was completely destabilized.
It was destabilized in a couple ways. Yep, and that brings up emotions.
Yeah.
So
one of them being a big fat no. My emotion is no.
No. And in the bad old days, when I was trying to keep everything even all the time, it meant that I never released those emotions. I just swallowed them up and held them tight. It didn't work. I mean, they don't stay. They don't stay where you put them, first of all. But
they vent pretty badly.
And they vent badly and at unexpected times. So not predictable. But it turns out that you can, on purpose, on a schedule, decide to release some emotions.
Yeah.
Wow, that has been a game changer for me, for my my presence and interaction through the growth of relationships.
And I added piece. So doing an emotional release is only half the puzzle. So the emotional release matters a lot. And without re-regulating your nervous system afterward, all you did was allow yourself the ability to let out some of the emotion and then repress the rest that was left behind. So I think that the key here to the emotional outlet, right? If you're going to express some emotional material, let's say you're going to do a rage release, or you're going to just let yourself have a good cry, whatever it is that you're going to do, a wailing ritual, if afterward you can really be present to, oh, that's my emotion, that's my feeling, and practice some holding space for that emotion, give your nervous system some inputs. There's so many different ones you could do. I mean, it might be as simple as slowing down your breath, putting your hand on your chest and your belly, letting yourself slow down and hold space for that emotion, and remind yourself through your body that you get to be here and that you can hold that emotion. You can express it, you can hold it. If you can do that, you have an actual resilience plan, right? But just venting the emotion itself tends to be exhausting. It's building in the oh, body, it's safe to be here. It's safe to experience this anger. It's safe to experience this because I'll be here for you.
I'll be here.
So I'm showing myself that I can be present for my own emotions.
And I'm seeing parallels to transition management, which we've been talking about recently, and the intentional plan. Okay, yep, I'm going to release my emotions, and not just like willy-nilly, but on purpose with a plan to experience it and then take care of myself in a way that then will bring me back to the my full sense of self. Because releasing strong emotions, when I'm in it, it feels like that's all there is. Right. And so it's important when I'm done to bring the whole rest of the world back, and bring me back out to the whole rest of the world.
Yeah. You are not your emotions. You are the faucet they run through.
Right.
And the ability to have a plan for that. So neurosomatic intelligence, breath work, going for a walk in nature, allowing yourself to come back into homeostasis, come back into your window of tolerance is really important. And the other thing that we can do that really, really helps is increase our sense of social support. So we can plan on co-regulation, and that can be with a partner, sure, but we can co-regulate with other humans of all different types.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, I go to the coffee shop and co-regulate. I will
Sure.
go to the
Right.
coffee shop when I'm feeling lonely. I will go co-regulate by going to the coffee shop and looking around and finding people in the coffee shop who appear to have just a generally calm presence.
Yeah.
And I'll just go sit down and read a book near them. Just that.
Yeah.
Just syncing up to their beingness, not asking anything of them, just being present to, oh, great, I'm not alone, actually.
And
But I
it
can
can
also
be,
co-regulate with my pets,
that's what I was thinking about pets. Sure.
with the river. I co-regulate with the river all the time because it's the river behind our house is very important to me. It has an emotional presence to me.
Or the rain on the roof is very regulating for me.
Right.
And yeah, the feeling of being in this larger world, and that feeling can be enhanced by um, by finding community who are in similar circumstances.
Yeah, I think this is the thing I struggled with the most when we were transitioning to an openly non-monogamous relationship. So you had been open but closeted for a long time.
Yeah.
And when I discovered like the whole world of polyamory and discovered within myself that I was non-monogamous, by nature, I felt like it was just an endemic part of me. And then I started practicing it. The thing that was most dysregulating for me was and so distressing was that I felt cut off from others. At first, because I was rejected by a group of people. That was not fun. Did not like that. It was also 15 years ago. I think that many people have come a long way. So I hope that is true in your world. But also later, I didn't know how to talk about this comfortably, right? I didn't know how to just talk about my stuff without feeling like everybody was shoveling more monogamous stuff onto me, like asking me like, no, don't point that out because monogamy matters to me. And I'm like, but I know, but I have these relationships. And it really helped to find local community, and then online community worked best for me because my local community had some people in it who were just bad fits for me. It just didn't work out for me.
There was a lot of scapegoating of non-monogamy. Like whatever your problems are, it's probably because of this.
So that was a struggle for me with my monogamous friends and supports. And in the non-monogamous communities, some of them are good fits and some of them might not be. And that's okay. Yeah. That doesn't mean that they're bad. That just means that they weren't a good fit. But luckily, there's a lot of online communities as well.
Yeah.
So I encourage everyone to look out for some spaces where you can just feel like, oh, there, okay. I can acknowledge the fact that I am going through relational growth. I am going through the stress of relational growth. And that doesn't mean that what I'm doing is bad.
And that includes the year of opening.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Is intentionally designed to provide not just support, but training in all the skills.
Well, training in all the skills, support, and cohesiveness. So the reason I chose to have a small group program that where people could come together and stay together for a year, that was intentional. So I know it's a lot. I know it's asking a lot for you to commit a year to this process. It's for a reason. It's because these people will see you go through the ups and downs. You will see them go through the ups and downs, the ins and outs, the confusion, and bear witness to the fact that we're all changing and growing through this. And there's not one path. There are a million paths. And it's just that increases a sense of predictability. So we meet weekly throughout the year, and that in itself provides that sense of predictability, and showing up into the room increases your sense of, yep, I'm here. I'm taking responsibility for my learning, my growth, my presence. It does tick all the boxes, doesn't it?
It ticks all the boxes. And something that I find amazing to watch and experience, because I mean, I'm in there, is when...
Yeah, thanks for coming to every cohort, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It's amazing because what I get to see is this, there's this tangle of some people are up, some people are down. And, as people go through the arcs of their relationships and their growth and the stress that they're experiencing, then there's other people that things are going great. And some people are struggling like crazy, and everybody gets to feel that the fact that wherever you are, it won't always be like that.
Right.
That includes the appreciation of when things are going well. and the despair when things aren't. Like, oh no, I'm surrounded by people. Some of them are where I am, which that kind of feels good. I mean, I feel bad for them, but at least I'm not the only one.
And I'm miserable.
And then there's people that things are going great for it. And I love that, and love knowing that things could go great for me too. Yeah, that combination is magic.
Is it? I think it was John Kabat-Zinn who wrote the book, The Full Catastrophe. It is very much the full catastrophe. And I love that experience. And as I go through my own relational distresses, as I experience that within the context of coming to meet. So I have, there are 5 cohorts running right now. It's like meeting with them all and recognizing how all of these different people are working through their stuff in their pace, in their ways. Keeps me present to the fact that there's just an unfolding happening.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly how it's going to go, and that's okay. Relational stress is not the end of the world. Having a plan for it will help, and making meaning out of it will make it go easier. Okay. Till next time, everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. There's no one right way to design your relationship. And lots of people, actually about 25%, according to a recent national survey, are interested in some type of open relationship. But how do you know if you are ready to open up happily? Not everyone is, and that's no problem. I've got a 60-second quiz that will give you the answer. And even better, you'll walk away with your next step, whether you're good to go or not so much when it comes to opening up. And this is no BuzzFeed nonsense. I personally designed this quiz from my years of academic research. Go to joliquiz.com. That's JOLIQUIZ.com. And find out if you're ready to open up happily and what to do if you are or if you're not.